In the summer of 1966, the Portuguese national team, also known by the proud name Os Magriços, thrilled fans all over the world, riding an unbelievable journey at the World Cup held in England. It was their first time participating in the biggest arena on the planet, but with a generation of outstandingly talented players and a fiery attacking style of play, full of Latin improvisation mixed with wild power. They not only achieved success with a historic bronze medal, but also became an unforgettable part of the memory. They defeated the reigning champion Brazil, made an unbelievable comeback against North Korea, and only stopped before the host England in tears. But behind those glorious moments on the Wembley or Goodison Park pitches are players with very unique fates. Nearly 60 years have passed. Time has carved cruel traces on their lives. Some became immortal legends, some chose a life of seclusion, and some quietly left this world. Let's look back at the ups and downs of the players who made up the soul of Portugal's golden generation that year. Mario Coluna was the springboard for Eusebio to become the spearhead. At 30, he was an irreplaceable leader. With his calm playing style, superb passing ability, and absolute authority on the pitch, Coluna was like a general. It was he who guided Eusebio from the beginning, and at the 1966 World Cup, he was the one who kept the tempo, preventing Portugal's hotheads from being drawn into the violent play of their opponents. After leaving Benfica as one of its greatest legends, Coluna returned to his native Mozambique after the country gained independence. Unlike many players who chose the coaching path, Coluna went into politics and sports management. He served as president of the Mozambique Football Federation, and even as the country's Minister of Sports. His life was a journey of a son who had returned to build his homeland, bringing experience from the top of Europe to develop Mozambique's fledgling sports industry. Coluna is a family man, quiet and responsible. He is passionate about the development of African football and works tirelessly to create opportunities for young players. Although he lives in Mozambique, his heart is always in Portugal, the place where he won glory. His dignity and leadership on the field were perfectly applied to his life. From a captain on the field, he became a leader of the country. Coluna was always the one to take the lead, a solid support for others. However, less than 2 months after his close brother Eusebio passed away, Mario Coluna also breathed his last. On February 25, 2014, he passed away in Maputo, Mozambique at the age of 78 due to a lung infection. The consecutive deaths of two of the greatest legends closed a golden but also tragic chapter of Portuguese football. José Torres, at 6 feet 3 inches, was a towering figure in Portugal's penalty area. He provided the perfect wall for Eusebio, drawing defenders and scoring crucial headers, including the winner against the Soviet Union in the third-place playoff. Despite his size, Torres was a fair-playing and gentle figure, as his nickname suggested. Torres's playing career was closely linked to Benfica, but his greatest mark later was on the coaching bench. He was the one who led Portugal to the 1986 World Cup in Mexico after a dramatic match in Stuttgart in which he uttered the immortal words, "Let me dream." However, the 1986 tournament was a disaster with the Saltillo scandal, leaving a sad mark on his coaching career. After that, he lived a quiet life, away from the noise of the media. Torres was known as a gentle, lovable, and artistic person. He loved pigeons and spent a lot of time taking care of them. He always maintained an optimistic attitude and never blamed his fate, although his health seriously declined in the last years of his life due to Alzheimer's disease. The kind giant on the field is also his real person in real life. Tall, tolerant, but sometimes too gentle before the calculations of the harsh football world. The journey of that giant stopped in silence. On September 3, 2010, José Torres passed away at the age of 71 after a long battle with illness. He left behind a gentle smile and memories of his brave headers. Antonio Simões, then 22, was the youngest of Benfica and Portugal's legendary attacking quartet. Small but incredibly quick and skillful, he was a terror on the left flank. It was Simões's pinpoint crosses that helped Torres and Eusebio shine. He was the embodiment of youth and explosiveness. Simões was one of the first Portuguese players to have success in the United States, playing for the Boston Minutemen and San Jose Earthquakes. After retiring, he became a coach, managing the Portuguese women's national team and assisting Iran at the 1998 World Cup. He is also an astute commentator, always providing a modern and insightful perspective on soccer. Simões is the only one of the legendary attacking quartet, Eusébio, Coluna, Torres, Simões, who is still lucid and active. He has become the keeper of the flame, the storyteller of the 1966 generation. He regularly appears on television, writes books, and participates in events honoring his former teammates. On the field, he is a creator, and off the field, he continues to be a creator of memories, helping the younger generation understand the value of the past. He is small, but his voice now carries 1,000 pounds of weight. Today, at the age of 81, Antonio Simões is still alive and well, and continues to contribute to football as an advisor and commentator. He is the most vivid witness, the link between the glorious past and the present, carrying within him the memories of a golden generation that has gradually faded away. Eusébio was not just the star, he was the sun around which the team revolved. Nicknamed the Black Panther, he had the speed of an athlete and the lightning strike of a gunner. His 9 goals in the tournament, including 4 that saved the nation in the quarter-final against North Korea, was one of the greatest individual performances in World Cup history. The image of Eusébio sobbing as he left Wembley after the semi-final defeat to England has become a symbol of pure passion and unfinished pain. After that fiery summer, Eusébio continued to devote his entire youth to Benfica, becoming a living symbol of the club. He won the European Golden Ball, the European Golden Shoe, and countless domestic titles. Despite receiving crazy offers from Italian and Spanish clubs, the policies of the dictator Salazar at that time considered him a national asset, making it impossible for him to leave Portugal. In the last years of his career, he went to North America to play in NASL, enjoying the last bit of freedom as a player. After retiring, Eusébio became an ambassador of Portuguese football, traveling around the world with a gentle smile, always welcomed like an uncrowned king. In real life, Eusébio was a modest man, almost shy, in contrast to his fierceness on the field. He lived a simple life with his wife Flora and children. He loved wine, loved gatherings with friends, and always had a special affection for his homeland Mozambique. However, knee injuries in his youth tormented him in old age, making every step of the Black Panther difficult. On the field, he carried the hopes of a nation. Off the field, he continued to carry the symbolic role of a bridge to heal the wounds of history. He was a popular king, someone everyone could touch. However, the hero's heart stopped beating. On January 5, 2014, Eusébio died at the age of 71 due to heart failure. His death plunged the whole country of Portugal into mourning. The government declared 3 days of national mourning. He was buried in the National Pantheon, a place dedicated to the greatest historical figures, affirming the immortal legacy of the Black Panther. José Augusto was a right winger, scoring 3 goals at the 1966 World Cup, an impressive tally for a winger. He was not only a good attacker but also a great defender, providing balance to Portugal's super-attacking squad. After the glory of 1966, José Augusto soon turned to coaching. He led the Portuguese team in the 1972 Brazilian Independence Cup, and later the national women's team. He also worked in Spain and left a certain mark. His life was associated with training and inspiration. His diligence and sharp tactical thinking on the pitch made him a respected teacher. He was quiet but effective, a man of the job. Today, at the age of 87, José Augusto is enjoying his retirement in Portugal. He is one of the few remaining members of that squad, and still meets up regularly with his old friend Simões to reminisce about old times. Sporting Lisbon's Hilario emerged as an impenetrable blocker among a star-studded Benfica squad. He possessed great stamina and tenacity. At the 1966 World Cup, he played every game, shutting down the world's best wingers. Hilario is a symbol of loyalty, having spent his entire career at the top of his game at Sporting CP. After retiring, he devoted his life to serving the club as a youth coach and assistant. He was the first teacher of the next golden generation of Sporting, such as Luis Figo or Cristiano Ronaldo. Today, at 85, Hilario remains a living legend at the José Alvalade Stadium. He lives a low-key but highly respected life, a testament to his tireless dedication. Vicente was a leader of the defense, renowned for his clean yet powerful style of play. He was the man who nullified the king of football Pelé in the 3-1 win over Brazil with masterful defending rather than trickery. His performances in England were considered one of the best center-back performances of the tournament. Tragedy struck Vicente just a year after the 1966 World Cup. A piece of glass from a car accident lodged in his eye, forcing him to retire early at the age of 32 while at the peak of his career. He lost some of his vision, but not his love for football. He continued to play for Belenenses and was honored as the greatest player in the club's history. Today, at 89, Vicente Lucas is the second oldest surviving member of the 1966 squad. He lives with pride for a brief but brilliant career, and his wounded eyes are a testament to the sacrifices he made. José Pereira was not the first choice when he arrived at the biggest football tournament on the planet at the age of 34. But after the opening match, he took over the starting position and became a reliable stopper. With his flying moves like a bird, he frustrated the North Korean and English strikers. Pereira was a humble man who spent most of his career with Belenenses. After retiring, he chose to live a completely secluded life, away from the limelight. He lived out his final days peacefully with his family in the Algarve. The journey of the Blue Bird has stopped. In 2016, José Pereira passed away at the age of 85. He left quietly as he lived, leaving a huge void in the fans' memories. Jaime Graça was the team's heartbeat. He ran tirelessly, fighting for the ball so that the attacking stars could shine. His 2-1 goal in the third-place playoff against legendary goalkeeper Lev Yashin was the highlight of his life. He is deeply attached to Benfica, not only as a player, but also as a youth scout and trainer. He was the one who saw the talent of Nuno Gomes and many other stars. He lives a simple life and is dedicated to training. On February 28, 2012, Jaime Graça passed away at the age of 70 after a long illness. He passed away before his famous teammates, but his contributions were no less. Baptista formed a solid shield with Vicente. He played with his mind, rarely made mistakes, and was always calm. His performance at the 1966 World Cup was considered exemplary for the center-back position. After football, Baptista, who came from an intellectual background, pursued a career in economics and became a successful professional. He is proof that football players can also be successful in the business world. Today, at the age of 83, Alexandre Baptista is still alive and well. He rarely appears in the sports press, but is always mentioned with the respect of a gentleman both on and off the field. Moraes is famous and infamous for the 2 fouls that sent Pelé off against Brazil. However, as a player, he is an incredibly versatile player, able to play as a defender or midfielder. His aggression is essential to defending his goal. He won the European Cup Winners' Cup with Sporting CP, with a direct goal from a corner kick. O Cantinho do Moraes. After retiring, he worked in the coaching staff of Sporting, but his health declined quite early. In April 2010, João Moraes died at the age of 75 after a long battle with cancer. He took his historical controversies to the grave, but to the Portuguese, he will always be a hero. Festa was not the #1 choice, but when he was on the field, 3 matches, he played with great effort, especially in the match against Brazil, contributing to locking down the opponent's explosive players. After his playing career, he lived a rather private life in his hometown. He suffered from serious illness in his later years. The latest sad news to hit fans: in early 2024, Alberto Festa passed away at the age of 84. His passing is a reminder that time is slowly taking away the last witnesses. Germano is the true big brother of the team. At 33, he is a world-class center-back, a 2-time European Cup winner with Benfica. He captained the team in the opening game against Hungary, commanding the defense with his trademark poise and elegance. However, persistent injuries turned his last major tournament into a personal tragedy. After the 3-1 opening day win, Germano was forced to give up his place to his younger brother and sit out the rest of the tournament. He was the general who fell before the biggest game, but his spirit still pervaded the team's play. Germano was not just a player, he was a gentleman of football. His illustrious career at Benfica has put him in the pantheon of legends. After retiring, he did not choose to make noise. He lived a discreet life, keeping the dignity of a man of the older generation. He had a short time as a coach, but did not leave as much of an impression as when he played. For Benfica fans, he will always be a towering monument, the one who laid the foundation for the club's golden era. On the pitch, Germano played with intelligence and elegance, rarely resorting to brute force. Off the pitch, he led an elegant life, free of scandal and controversy. His absence from the life-and-death matches of 1966 was a sad note, but it highlighted the sacrifice of an elder brother. The journey of that gallant captain ended quite early. On July 14, 2004, Germano de Figueiredo passed away at the age of 71. He left with memories of an era when football was still a game for gentlemen. José Carlos was the type of hard-working worker that every coach craved in a team of fiery attacking stars. At the 1966 World Cup, he only played 2 matches, but those were matches where he had to fight with all his might. Especially in the match against the Soviet Union in the third-place match, José Carlos's aggressiveness and ability to compete in the midfield helped limit the opponent's strength, helping Portugal to secure the victory. He was a silent hero, ready to fill any gap in the squad. In contrast to the Benfica core of the team, José Carlos is a living legend of rival Sporting Lisbon. He was a key member of the squad that won the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1964, Sporting's only continental title to date. He spent his entire career in the blue and white shirt, famous for his aggressive style of play and never-give-up spirit. After retiring, he also participated in coaching at small teams and youth training. His dedication on the field reflects who he is, loyal and responsible. He doesn't need the halo of a star. He just needs to complete the assigned task in the best way. Coincidentally and sadly, in the same year as his senior Germano passed away, José Carlos also passed away. In 2004, he passed away at the age of 62 after a serious illness. His passing left behind endless sorrow for the Sporting Lisbon fan community. Joaquim Carvalho arrived in England as a champion, the hero of Sporting Lisbon's European Cup Winners' Cup triumph 2 years earlier. He was trusted to start the opening game against Hungary. Portugal won 3-1, but Carvalho had some shaky moments. In a short, pressure-filled tournament, coach Otto Gloria made the cruel decision to replace him with veteran José Pereira for the remainder of the tournament. Carvalho sat on the bench, watching his teammates make history, feeling forgotten in the midst of a triumphant triumph. Although the 1966 World Cup was a sad memory, Carvalho's career at club level was extremely brilliant. He was the Saint Iker of Sporting at that time, famous for his extraordinary reflexes. After retiring, he remained closely associated with football and the community of former players. He regularly appeared at the 1964 Cup Winners' Cup celebrations, where he was always honored as the #1 hero. Carvalho was a cheerful, sociable man, although his eyes always contained a hint of sadness from the past. He lived his old age in his hometown, surrounded by the love of his family and the respect of his fans. He never regretted his decision, but was always proud to be part of Os Magriços. The goalkeeper position is the loneliest position on the pitch, and Carvalho experienced that loneliness to the fullest at the 1966 World Cup. But the way he overcame his sadness to continue to contribute showed the mettle of a true champion. The journey of the legendary goalkeeper has only recently ended. On April 5, 2022, Joaquim Carvalho passed away at the age of 84. He left, taking with him a story of glory and cruel moments of fate, leaving behind a glove of memory for the next generation to follow. Fernando Cruz arrived at the 1966 World Cup as an irreplaceable pillar of Benfica, the team that dominated Europe at the time. However, in the national team, he fell into an ironic situation, having to compete for a place with Hilario of Sporting Lisbon, who was in excellent form. Cruz did not play a single minute throughout the tournament. He accepted the role of strategic reserve, always ready if Hilario was injured. Cruz's professionalism was the key factor in keeping the Portuguese dressing room stable, without any competition between the stars of the two rivals Benfica and Sporting. Despite being a supporting actor in the national team, at Benfica, Fernando Cruz was a king. He spent 11 full years at the top of his game for the Eagles, winning 8 national championships and 4 national cups, a huge collection of titles that any player dreams of. He was a core member of the golden generation of Benfica in the 60s, alongside Eusebio and Coluna, conquering all over Europe. After leaving Benfica, he had a short time playing for Paris Saint-Germain in France before retiring. Fernando Cruz was a man of loyalty and devotion. After hanging up his boots, he chose a quiet life in his hometown Lisbon, away from the hustle and bustle of the commercial football world. He regularly appeared at Benfica's honorary events, always with a gentle and humble smile. He never complained about being on the bench in 1966, but considered it an honor to serve his country. On the pitch, he was a diligent fullback, always dropping back to protect his teammates. Off the pitch, he also lived as a guardian of memories, silently preserving the old values of the club he loved. Today, at the age of 84, Fernando Cruz is still alive and well. He is one of the last historical witnesses of the golden era of Benfica and the 1966 Portugal team. Whenever looking back, people still see in him the image of a loyal old soldier who gave everything without asking for anything in return. Fernando Peres was one of Portugal's brightest young talents in 1966. A part of Sporting Lisbon, he possessed excellent individual technique and a modern way of thinking. However, Portugal's midfield at that time was too crowded with names like Coluna and Graça, so Peres had no chance to show his talent in England. However, being called up at the age of 23 was an acknowledgement of his talent. Peres's career was an interesting adventure. He made his name at Sporting, then moved to Académica and Porto. But the biggest turning point was when he decided to cross the ocean to Brazil to play for Vasco da Gama and Sport Recife, a very rare thing for a European player at that time. In the land of samba, his technical style of play was warmly welcomed. After retiring, he became a coach, leading many teams in Portugal and leaving his mark on the philosophy of attacking football. Peres was a free-spirited person, fond of exploration and not afraid of challenges. Going to Brazil to play showed that he was open-minded and wanted to seek new experiences. He is always remembered by his students and colleagues as a dedicated teacher, a funny friend with a treasure trove of interesting stories about football on both sides of the ocean. His spontaneous playing style and his nomadic career had an uncanny resemblance. Peres was never content to sit still, always on the move, seeking joy, just as he moved tirelessly on the pitch. However, the longest journey of that wanderer has come to an end. On February 10, 2019, Fernando Peres passed away in a hospital in Lisbon after a long illness. At the age of 76, his passing left a deep sorrow for both Portuguese football and his fans in Brazil. Manuel Duarte is a real-life fairy tale. He did not come from the big three, Benfica, Sporting, Porto, but from Leixões, a humble club in the coastal town of Matosinhos. At 21, being called up to the All-Star squad for the World Cup was an incredible honor for the young man. Although he did not get a single minute on the pitch due to the huge shadow of Eusebio and Torres, Duarte's presence was proof that the national team's doors are always open to genuine talent, regardless of background. Returning from England, Duarte was welcomed as a hero in his homeland. He continued to play for and became the greatest legend in the history of Leixões club. Later, he had time to play for Sporting CP and Porto, but his heart always belonged to the coastal team. He was a symbol of loyalty to his roots, an idol for children in small teams dreaming big. Duarte lived a simple life, close to the breath of the ocean. He was affectionately called Uncle Duarte by the people of Matosinhos. He never pretended to be a World Cup star, but was always sociable and approachable. In his last years, he often spent time telling stories to young people, inspiring them with the will to rise up. As the youngest player and from the smallest team, Duarte learned the lesson of humility early in his career, and he carried that humility with him throughout his life, becoming a great character and a humble man. And then, the outstanding son of that sea also returned to the waves. On September 2, 2022, Manuel Duarte passed away at the age of 77. His departure was a great loss for northern Portuguese football, but his name will forever be engraved as a proud Magriço of the working class.